Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to talk about a very important topic in global politics and economics: the U.S. China trade war. This is not a war with guns or bombs, but a war with tariffs, policies, and business rules. It has affected many countries, businesses, and even everyday people like you and me. Don't worry, I'll explain everything in a simple way. Let's begin by understanding what a trade war is. What is a trade war? A trade war happens when two countries start putting heavy taxes, called tariffs, on each other's goods and services. They do this to protect their own businesses or punish the other country. Imagine you and your friend are trading toys. One day your friend says, "If you want to buy my toy, you'll have to pay me extra." In response, you say, "Fine. Then I'll also charge you more for my toy." This keeps going back and forth. That's how a trade war works. Background: U.S. China economic relationship. The United States and China are two of the biggest economies in the world. For many years, they have traded with each other. The U.S. buys a lot of products from China, such as electronics, clothes, and machinery. On the other hand, China buys things like food, cars, and airplanes from the U.S. But there has always been tension between the two countries. The U.S. believes that China is not playing fair. Let me explain. Why did the trade war start? The U.S. had several problems with China. First, trade deficit. The U.S. was buying more from China than it was selling to China. This is called a trade deficit. For example, in 2017, the U.S. imported around $500 billion worth of goods from China, but only exported about $130 billion to China. This gap worried the U.S. government. Second, intellectual property theft. The U.S. accused China of stealing ideas, designs, and technologies from American companies. For example, a U.S. company might invent a new phone, and a Chinese company might copy it without permission. Third, forced technology transfer. American companies doing business in China were forced to share their technology with Chinese partners. The U.S. didn't like this because it gave China access to secret or advanced knowledge. 4. China's support for its own companies. The U.S. said that China was giving unfair help to its local companies by giving them loans and support, making it hard for American companies to compete. Because of all these reasons, in 2018, President Donald Trump decided to take action. The trade war begins. In 2018, the U.S. started by placing tariffs on Chinese goods worth billions of dollars. These tariffs made Chinese goods more expensive in the U.S. The goal was to make Americans buy fewer Chinese products and encourage them to buy American-made goods. China quickly responded by putting its own tariffs on American products like soybeans, meat, and cars. This hit American farmers and industries hard. Then, both countries kept increasing tariffs, step by step, like a game of revenge. This continued through 2018 and 2019. Who got affected? You might think only big businesses were affected, but that's not true. Let's look at who got hurt. First, consumers. When tariffs increase, prices go up. So, people in the U.S. had to pay more for products made in China, like phones, clothes, and home goods. Second, farmers. China stopped buying many U.S. farm products like soybeans. This hurt American farmers, especially in rural areas. 3. Businesses. Companies in both countries faced higher costs. Some had to shut down or move their factories to other countries. Fourth, global economy. The fight between these two economic giants caused fear and slowdowns around the world. Other countries also faced problems in trade and growth. Efforts to solve the trade war. Both countries realized that the trade war was harming everyone. So, in early 2020, they signed a deal called Phase 1 Agreement. According to this deal, China promised to buy more U.S. goods, especially farm products. China agreed to do more to protect intellectual property. The U.S. agreed to lower some of the tariffs. It was a step in the right direction, but many problems still remained. COVID-19 and its impact. Then came the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. It made the situation even worse. Trade slowed down, supply chains broke, and people lost jobs. Both countries were busy fighting the virus, and trade talks were paused. Also, the U.S. started blaming China for the spread of the virus, which made political relations worse again. Joe Biden's approach. In 2021, President Joe Biden took office. People expected him to remove tariffs and cool things down, but he didn't remove all tariffs right away. He kept some in place and focused on making the U.S. stronger in areas like computer chips, clean energy, and manufacturing. He also worked with other countries like Europe and Japan to create a united front against China's trade practices. Current situation, 2025. As of now, in 2025, the U.S. and China still have trade tensions. Some tariffs are still there, but both sides are trying to be more careful. They know that they need each other. The U.S. needs cheap goods and electronics from China. China needs to sell products to keep its economy growing. Also, both countries are focusing on new technologies, like artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, and semiconductors, and competing to be the best. This competition is often called the tech war. Why is this important for us? You may ask, why should I care about the U.S.-China trade war? Good question. Here's why it matters to all of us. Prices. What happens between these countries affects prices in our markets. Jobs. Many jobs depend on trade, especially in manufacturing and farming. Technology. The tech war shapes the future of innovation and gadgets. Peace and stability. When big countries fight economically, it can cause tension around the world. Lessons learned. Here are some lessons we can learn from the U.S.-China trade war. 1. Interdependence. Countries need each other in today's world. No country can produce everything on its own. 2. Trade rules are important. Fair and equal rules are needed to protect businesses and encourage innovation. 3. Diplomacy works better than war. Talking and solving problems is always better than fighting, even in trade. 4. Diversification. Relying too much on one country for goods can be risky. That's why many countries now want to spread their trade. To sum it up, the U.S.-China trade war was a battle of economics, not weapons. It started because of long-term problems, and both sides took actions that hurt not only each other, but also the whole world. Although things have cooled down a little, the road to full peace and fair trade is still long. As young learners, business people, or global citizens, we must stay informed about such topics. They affect the world we live in, our jobs, our products, and our future. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this simple explanation helped you understand what the U.S.-China trade war is all about. If you want to see more videos on the latest financial news, make sure to subscribe to my channel. We'll see you in the next one.